Aloha guys, this is Dr. Tom Walker coming at you. Today we're going to talk about our very first introductory lesson to anatomy and physiology. Now this of course has to do with human anatomy and physiology, but other biological species also have it too. Okay, very quickly. Anatomy is the study of the structure of living things. Anatomy is the study of the structure. Physiology is how they function. Anatomy is the structure, physiology is how they function. Okay, there's a number of levels of organization within the body. Starting from the simplest and moving up to the most complex, we have first atoms. Atoms bond together to form molecules. Complex organic molecules, among others, form cells, the basic unit of living things. Then specialized cells come together to form tissues. Specialized tissues come together to form organs like the brain or the lungs or the stomach, which would be here. So here's atoms, molecules, cells, tissues, organ, in this case the stomach. And then the various systems of the body are made up of a variety of organs. In this case, they're showing the digestive system. Here's the stomach, the colon, small intestine. And then finally, the various organ systems come together to form the entire organism. Here are the major organ systems of the body. One you probably never heard of before, the integumentary. It's mainly the skin. We'll talk about that a little later. The skeletal and muscular system. Now, in more advanced courses, this is considered a single system, and it's called the musculoskeletal system. But here they break it down separately, which is fine. The nervous system. The endocrine system, the complex glands and hormones of the body. The circulatory system, the heart and blood vessels. The lymphatic system. Another circulatory system within the body, all of its own. Has clear fluid like you might see in a blister, for example. The immune system, which is of extreme importance. The respiratory system, where we breathe in and reoxygenate the blood and balance the carbon dioxide within the blood. The digestive system, where we break down, absorb, and utilize nutrients from our food. The urinary system, the kidneys process the blood 24/7 and selectively decide what stays in the blood and what's to be excreted in the urine. And then finally, the reproductive system, how we reproduce. Okay, here's some more pictures of them. The integumentary system, guys, again, I realize you probably never heard of that before. It only has one major organ, and that's the skin. But the skin's the largest organ in the body, weighs 6-7 pounds, 6 to 7 in the average individual. Skeletal system, the bones, very complex. The muscular system, very complex. Now again, in upper level courses of anatomy and physiology, the musculoskeletal system is considered a single system. But that's okay for our purposes. Continuing onward, the nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, and all the nerves through the body. Circulatory system, the heart. Arteries are always shown in red. Veins are always shown in blue. Arteries take blood away from the heart out to the body. Veins return it back to the heart. The endocrine system, again, the complex glands and hormones of the body. The master gland is the pituitary. We have a thyroid, a thymus, adrenal glands, pancreas, testes, and since this is the drawing of a male. Lymphatic system. Again, there's two circulatory systems in the human body. The one we already know, the blood, but there's also the lymphatic system, which is huge. Circulates a clear watery fluid called lymph. We have lymph nodes, and I'm sure most of you have heard of that help filter and have immune activity in them. So it's really very important. Digestive system. The esophagus, the tube we swallow our food through. Stomach, here's the liver, intestines. Processes our food. Respiratory system. The lungs, the trachea. You can feel the trachea in the front here. You can feel the cartilaginous rings on it. Also the nasal cavities. keeps the blood oxygenated and removes carbon dioxide, which is a waste product, but we have to have a certain amount of carbon dioxide to maintain the pH of the body. Now, you probably don't know what pH is yet, but you will very soon. The urinary system. We have two kidneys, two tubes called ureters that conduct the urine down to the urinary bladder, which is shown right here. And then we have a tube that goes to the outside of the body called the urethra that the urine is conducted through until it's expelled outside of the body. Whenever we mention the bladder, guys, we actually need to say, it's not 100% correct to say the bladder because there are two bladders in the body. One is the urinary bladder. That's the one we're talking about now. Where's the other one? I'm waiting. Of course, it's the, what? The gallbladder. The reproductive system is in the male and female. The female, here's the uterus, the ovaries, the oviducts, or also known as fallopian tubes, that conduct the the eggs into the uterus. Here's the vaginal canal. In the male, it's showing I guess that's the prostate gland there, the testes and the seminiferous tubules, vas deferens. Okay, homeostasis. Homeostasis, guys, is a word for all the complex mechanisms that we use to maintain our internal environment. In other words, as you know, our body temperature has to stay at a certain temperature. Very narrow range, actually, if you think about it. If it gets much over 105 degrees, it's fatal. If it gets down into the 90s, low 90s, it could be fatal, or 80s. So but not only that, but many, many other things. The amount of oxygen and gases in the blood, the pH of the blood, the blood pressure and pulse rate, and so many other things. Collectively, this is called homeostasis. Important word to know. And they define it as the body's ability to maintain a stable internal environment in response to a changing external environment. So it's really complicated, guys, as you might imagine. I have nothing but the ultimate of respect for biological systems, as opposed to like technological stuff. It's crude by comparison. Why? Because biological systems can heal. Can your computer heal? Don't be offended. Okay, now, for the medical field, we have to be able to refer to the body in different ways. So I'm going to start with a question. How do we know where north is on a map? Do you all remember what maps are? And I don't mean the one on your phone. I mean the paper one that you unfold and you can't get folded back again properly. The way we know where north is at on a map is maps are designed where north is always facing up. So we have a standard that we can apply. That's the way the anatomical position is. So by definition, the anatomical position is standing erect, facing forward, arms at the sides, toes and palms directed forward. Now, basically what this is, guys, it means standing erect with your palms facing forward. Why? Because our hands can be positioned with the palms forward, but it can also be positioned like this. And so, just like on a map where we say, okay, north is up. On the human body, the anatomical position is standing up with the palms facing forward, arms down at your sides, just like this. Really important. So what's the anatomical position? It's standing up with the palms facing forward. Now, these directional terms in anatomy, guys, are real important. Superior means on top of something or above it. Inferior means below it. Anterior means the front. Posterior means the back. Medial and lateral. All of these, by the way, guys, are super, super important. You absolutely must memorize them. But, you know, there's only one of them that I think is kind of tough. Medial means closer to the midline. Lateral means further away from the midline. Okay, now this is to me, the only one that's a little bit tricky. Proximal and distal. Proximal means closer to the point of origin. Distal means further away from the point of origin. Now, we most commonly use these to describe things like the arms and legs, or like the intestines and things. So, for example, the arm, the point of origin is the shoulder, okay? So the elbow is proximal to the wrist, meaning the elbow is closer to the point of origin, the shoulder, than the wrist is. Proximal. By the same token, we could say that the wrist is distal to the elbow because it's further away from the point of origin, okay? Now, how might something like this be used? Well, you might have a patient come in that's got a lesion in their colon, and they might say, and the doctor would describe it as there's a lesion, a 2 centimeter lesion on the proximal 1/3 portion of the sigmoid colon, and that would zero it in pretty close, and they would know where you're talking about. Okay, we're almost done with this. Superficial and deep. Superficial means on the surface. Deep means deep. Central and peripheral. Central means within, the center of the body, and periphery means on the outside of it. Now, these are all very important. You must learn them. They're fairly easy. The one that gives people the most trouble, and it did me many, many decades ago when I was learning this, is proximal and distal. Okay, now, we have imaginary planes in the body. And there are 3 of them. The sagittal plane, the frontal plane, and the transverse plane. This is used, guys, in diagnostic imaging, like in MRIs and CAT scans and things like that. So if we had an imaginary plane going straight down through the center of the body, or it can be on either side, that's called a sagittal plane. It divides the body into left and right portions. If we had an imaginary plane going this way through us, it would divide the body into anterior or front and posterior portions, which is this one. Sometimes it's called coronal plane. That's why they got that little crown up there. And if we imagine an imaginary plane going through the body horizontally, that's called a transverse plane, like this one. Now again, if we dissected a body, would we actually find these planes in there? No. But they're used for diagnostic imaging and for reference points. Regional terms, there's a lot of stuff here. We'll see what we can cover. Cranial area is the head, cephalic is also head, orbits are on the eye, buccal is the cheek, oral is the mouth, cervical is the neck, sternal is the breastbone, abdominal is the abdomen, of course, the sides are flanks, the armpit is the axillary area, the arm is the brachial area, elbow is antecubital. Now, I know I'm going kind of fast here, but you can go back over these. The belly button is the umbilical area. Or some of these doctors are really cool. We'll call it the umbilicus. The pubic area is the pubic area. The knee is the patella, or patellar area. Around the groin area is called the inguinal. The bottom of the foot is the plantar surface. The top of the foot is the pedal surface. Back of the knee is popliteal. The thigh is the femoral area. Gluteal is the butt. Caudal is the base of the spine. Lumbar is the low back. Digital are the fingers. Deltoid is a muscle. Scapula is the shoulder blades. Occipital is back of the head. Now, guys, don't let this fool you. This is a lot of stuff, but you'll be going over it, and you need to learn this for a number of reasons. One, a lot of the blood vessels and nerves in these areas are named after these regions that they pass through. Cavities of the body. Okay. Dorsal cavities, cranial cavity. Let's see. Here's the cranial cavity that the brain, this is a side or lateral view of it. We're running out of time, so I won't be able to finish this. There's also a spinal cavity that the spinal cord goes through. A thoracic cavity that the heart and lungs are in. Abdominal cavity the abdomen is in. Okay, we're running out of time. We'll pick up with this on our next video. Hang in there. Be here or be square. Dr.